Acts chapter 14, verse 20. Acts chapter 14, verse 20. I want to read from the NLT version. Paul has just been stoned and left for dead. And we pick up at Acts 14:20. But as the believers gathered around him, he got up, went back into town. I'm going to read that again. As the believers gathered around him, he got up. I think I might read that a third time. As the believers gathered around him, he got up and went back into town. If you're not too mean, look at your neighbor and say, do me one favor. Don't leave me down. Don't leave me down. We've been in the midst of a series that I think is so special for this moment entitled Forced. We've been in the midst of a series entitled Forced. I was on a recruiting visit with my son. I've said it once, I say it for the third time, Middle Tennessee, and Coach Mason looked at him and said, in life, you will have to deal with force multipliers. When he said it, it was like my spiritual senses went off as if God was speaking directly to me. The whole ride home, I'm taking notes like, God, that phrase has arrested my attention. And I began to come up with definitions and study the phrase force multipliers. Force multipliers is on the screen. Are God-used pressures that accelerate development, reveal capacity, and push you into levels you would not have reached through comfort alone. That's still good to me. This is my fourth Sunday reading that. Force multipliers are God-used pressure. I'm gonna see who's been rocking with me, who can finish this statement. Notice I didn't say God caused pressures, because everything that happens in your life, God did not cause, but everything that has happened in your life, God can use. That's why the devil don't know what to do with you, because the enemy is always up to tricks, but he don't realize what the devil meant for evil, God will turn it for your good. God may not have caused your breakup, but he'll use it. God may not have caused your pain, but he will use it. I am so grateful that I serve a God that no matter what it is that happens in my life, God is able to do exceeding and abundant above all I could ever ask, think, dream, or imagine. The second definition of force multipliers are pressures, systems, or decisions that make growth happen faster than comfort would allow. That can preach. Force multipliers are pressures, systems, or decisions that make growth happen faster than comfort would allow. I just saw that in that definition. I want to speak this over your life, because many of you are complaining about your pressure, complaining about your problem, or complaining about what's going on, and don't realize sometimes God allows things to happen in your life because he's trying to speed you up. I think you missed what I just said right there. God is like, where I'm trying to get you, I can't take another 3 years developing you. So I may make this summer crazy, because 2027 about to be everything you prayed for. So instead of crying about my trouble, I've learned to rejoice about my trouble, because God, you must be up to something. I'm preaching to 3 of y'all in the balcony and 2 people online who can live long enough that you can look back over your life retrospectively. Retrospective, put this in your notes. Sometimes pressure calls for retrospective reflection. Retrospective reflection. What that mean, PMJ? It's when I take a look back at my yesterday in order to determine what God is getting ready to do today. Preach, Mike. It's when I look back at my yesterday to determine what God is about to do today. Please make that make sense. If I was having good church, I would say, I look back to see what he did last time. And if he did it before, who gonna help me preach today? He can do it again. So number 3, force multipliers. Are you taking good notes? Force multiplier is any pressure, disruption, or responsibility that removes the option to stay the same. Any pressure, disruption, or responsibility that removes the option to stay the same. That's critical. So on last week, we brought up this idea. So if a force multiplier removes the option to stay the same, that's indicative of the fact that there once was what? An option. So in other words, this is real good. God is saying, since you won't pick growth, I'll force growth. Since you won't pick prayer, I'll force you to pray. Since you won't pick to live right, I will let stuff jump off in your life that'll make you live right. See, I know you don't want to say amen, because the first thing you learned when you got in church is that you had to appear perfect. See, I don't want to appear to be something I'm not, because if I appear to be something I'm not, then people are going to be blessing a lie. Which is why every now and again, I need to make it very clear, I am not all that I'm supposed to be right now, but God, this is for three of y'all, is working on me. And the thing that I love about God is that if you won't pick it, God will pick on you long enough to where his preference becomes your preference. Hear me when I say this. So force multipliers are any pressure and disruption and responsibility that removes the option to stay the same. That's important. So this week I would like to introduce a new force multiplier. And the force multiplier that I want to introduce today, I showed you disruption. I showed you interruption. Last week we discovered clarity is a force multiplier. Today, I want to introduce a force multiplier called community. Yeah, community. Community. Growing up, I would hear people say stuff like, I need backup. That was somebody's way of saying they needed help or support. But in my culture, I don't say I need backup. I'm going to see who can finish this statement. At Rock City, we say you cannot rock alone. In other words, we're saying God did not call you to do life by yourself. This is not just a saying here at Rock City, it's a biblical truth. Put this in your notes if you don't mind. The first thing that God said was not good in the Bible was not a sin. The first thing that God said was not good was when Adam was alone. Please notice that the first thing that God called not good was the fact that man was alone. In the book of Genesis, God begins to create the heavens and the earth, and the heavens were void without him. He said, let there be light, and it was good. He separated flying things from crawling things, and it was good. And he made vegetation, he made plants, and it was good. Then he made Adam, he said, and it was good. Then he said, it's not good for man to be alone. So in your notes, I want you to write Genesis 1. Genesis 1, that is the creation narrative. Genesis 1 is the creation narrative. This is enough to tear the whole church up right here. He creates the world, but never lifts a finger. Preach, Mike, I'm gonna talk to y'all. He creates the world, but never lifts a finger. Well, PMJ, how does he create the world? He spoke it, Michael, into existence. I don't need people in my life who got stuff. I just need some people who can say some stuff. That's why the Bible says you can speak those things that are not as though they. So Genesis 1, are you taking notes, is the creation narrative. He puts a command in place when he starts it by saying, let there be, and it was. Jesus, let there be, and it was. So what happens is he gets to the point where he creates man, and he finally says, this ain't good. He says, this ain't good. So in your notes in Genesis 1, good is equivalent to functional. When he made light, he said, that's functional. When he made flying things, he said, that's functional. When he made crawling and swimming things, he said, that's functional. When he made man and saw him by himself, he said, that's dysfunctional. I gotta put something in his life that is suitable, watch this, because if I don't send him what he needs, he'll lay with what's around him. Michael, if I don't send him what he needs, he will lay with what's around him. If I don't make him a wife, he gonna call one of these animals wife, which explains the last 6 people you dated. Because when you are not in his will, you will settle for what's around you instead of waiting on what God called you to. I'm preaching to 3 of y'all. That's why you need to wake up in the morning and get over what you used to be under. It's because what God has for you, the moment you settle, you are living beneath what God called you. He says, this is dysfunctional. And I know many of you have been raised with this ideology, I don't need nobody. I don't need nothing. But God says the moment he saw man roaming by himself, he says that's dysfunctional. Now notice that the devil, the snake in the garden, the devil does not show up when Adam is alone. I'm talking heavy today. The snake never showed up when Adam was by himself. The snake didn't show up till he got somebody who could help him carry his vision. Because the devil understands, put this in your notes, the power of partnership. Michael, the power of partnership. I'm gonna say that again. There is power in our partnership. The enemy does not fear you having relationships. He's afraid of you having strong relationships. He's afraid of you having strong relationships. That means loneliness is not always proof that something is wrong with your character. Most people assume that if you're lonely, something must be wrong with you. Loneliness is not proof that there is something wrong with my character. Sometimes it's proof that something is missing in my community. That's good. Pastor Mike, what do you mean? Can I help you real quickly? Because just because I feel lonely don't mean I'm alone. I'm gonna say that again. Just because I feel lonely does not mean I'm alone. Why, PMJ? Because you can be surrounded by purpose and still suffer from isolation. Somebody gonna help me preach today. You can be surrounded by purpose and still suffer from isolation. The first not good in the Bible is say that better. The first not good in the Bible is not about sin, it's about solitude. You would think the first not good in the Bible was Cain killing Abel. But God says, no, the first not good had nothing to do with sin. It was the fact that he was alone. God did not call Adam weak for needing help. He called his isolation dysfunctional. Now, I know many of you are saying, Pastor Mike, I don't need nobody. I tried it. Let me free you real quickly. Being alone may be manageable, but it's not sustainable. Being alone may be manageable, but it's not sustainable. Why is that, PMJ? I'm gonna say this for the 40-some club. Live long enough. Some gonna jump off where you need somebody in your life. Because God, put this in your notes, never designed assignment to be carried in isolation. That's good. God never designed assignment to be carried in isolation. No, he never designed assignment to be carried in isolation. So what does he give you? He knows function requires connection. Ooh, if it's going to be functional, it requires connection. We make stuff so deep, but it's so simplistic. Everything in your life requires community, and you think you don't. Yep. So you think when you go home and turn your water on because you turned it on. If your water ain't in good standings with the company, so the company makes sure it's on, makes sure it's clean, they get it to you. So now it becomes functional because you're in good standing. Even when God began to create, he made stuff that needed each other. He says, I'm gonna make day, but the problem is day may get tired. So in order to give day a break, I'm gonna give him a partner called night. I'm gonna have flying things and crawling things. He looks at Adam and says, Adam, I want you to rule and multiply. You can't even rule and multiply and reproduce because I need to give you something that you can connect with to produce. So he says, I'm gonna give you Adam, but Adam, you're gonna be so cold that you got what's in you to make a baby, but I'm not gonna give you what it takes to develop one. So then I'm gonna make this sister who got what it takes to develop a baby, but I'm not gonna give her the ability to produce one. Y'all can only produce when y'all come together. This is why the devil got your family at odds and your friends hating you, because he knows if y'all ever get on one accord, It ain't nothing the devil can do with you. This is why every brother in here needs a good woman. Because whatever you give a woman, she multiplies. I'm going to preach to 3 sisters online. Whatever you give a good woman, she multiplies. You give a grocery, she'll give you a meal. You give her a little love, she'll guard your heart. You give her a little peace and she'll fight your battles for you. And see, the reason you can tell you don't have a good woman is because the one you got only divide and subtract. God, give me one that multiply. I'm preaching whether y'all receive it or not. I wish I had 7 sisters at this service who can say, it ain't my looks, it ain't my mind. Baby, I can multiply some stuff. You give me a little paycheck, I'll make sure every bill paid, every way is made. I am what God called me to be. I am a multiplier. Conversely, if you give her pain, she'll give you more problems. If you give her lies, she'll give you more headaches. Because a real woman is not built to subtract and divide. A real woman is constructed to multiply whatever you get. So if you're mad at who she became, you got to realize what you put in her, because she's only the result of what you put in her. Because function requires connection. And the reason, preach Michael McClure, the reason the attack on our lives are so crazy is because God looked over your circle and realized you, preach Mike, are the multiplier. You want to know what I should have preached? When God multiplies. Because God said, I am so God, I can take 2 fish, 5 loaves, and everybody around me gonna eat. Because when you put the right stuff in the right hands, some of you, this is gonna be the most focused year of your life. I'm gonna say it again. This is going to be the most focused year of your life. I'm gonna say it again. This is going to be the most focused year of your life. And if you're not careful, am I doing okay? If you're not careful, people assume, because I do it. So when you get focused, if I'm talking, you throw your hand up. The first thing you do is say, I gotta cut some distractions out. I gotta get some of these people out of my life. Put this in your notes. The right relationship is not a distraction from purpose. It's a multiplier of purpose. Preach, Mike McClure. The right relationship is not a distraction of purpose. It is a multiplier of purpose. See, the problem ain't the relationship. It might just mean it's not the right one. But the devil tricks you into believing you need to cut everything off to get where you're trying to go. So you penalize who could multiply because you infatuated who would, say that better, Michael. You penalize who could multiply because you're infatuated with who've been dividing. Which is why we spend more time dealing with the people who trying to leave us than celebrating the people who staying with. Just bump somebody and say, I ain't chasing nobody else this year. Tell them. That's the wrong neighbor. Bump another and tell them, I ain't chasing nobody else this year. If you want to leave, leave. Get some of that subtraction. Trust me, you'll be back. I am a multiplier. God answered, look at this now. God's answer to isolation was not more work. It was meaningful connection. I want to say this, and I want you to really hear your pastor when I say it. No matter what advantages you have, you're brilliant, you're smart, you got money, you got credit, you got background, you got experience, you got connections. No matter what you got, listen clearly to me. At some point, life is going to test you in an area that you cannot fix by yourself. And some people would rather die alone than ask people for help because their pride will not allow them to admit, here it is, this is too big for me. I'm gonna say this, and 7 of y'all are gonna receive this. What God is about to do in your life, you're gonna need a whole team to handle this next season. I don't think you heard what I just said. what God is about to do in your life, you're gonna need a whole team to handle this next season. 6 of y'all should have just said, I receive that right there. That God's about to